Careful of that thinking business. It causes nothing but trouble.
I know it does. It is trouble. Jacob,
Richard.
in addition to
Rich.
thinking way too much,
Yes.
have you had an exciting week?
Uh, it's been kind of meh.
Meh?
Um, not great, but not terrible. Been doing we've been playing some more Minecraft.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
we're trying to we're trying to get things like situated so we can take down a woodland mansion. Um, and the woodland mansion is like if you were like to put things in perspective, it would be like the distance seems like if you were like in London and the woodland mansion's like Rio or southern hemisphere place. That's the
Yeah.
distance. So it's a bit of a bitch to get there, and um, the Nether is always quicker. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like so. The ratio is 4 to 1. Every 4 steps, I think, are 4 blocks in the overworld. It's 1 to the Nether. So you can travel very, very, very quick in the Nether, mind you, but it's kind of a painful process because you got to deal with all kinds of dangers with the Nether versus the overworld.
I'm gonna need to
So,
like kind of check that because there's so much wild shit. Like every time you bring up new stuff about Minecraft,
uh-huh.
I am just like, what the fuck game even is this? It's nuts. Um, but I love hearing about it. It's exciting, and I am looking forward to you and your brother showing me what that is someday. Like it's
Yeah.
something you've brought up. It's
Uh-huh.
requested assistance. I need to reinstall Minecraft,
You
and
still haven't done that yet?
I have not.
So, okay, well,
I have
I
had
would like. Yeah.
I've been haven't had a lot of time to game much since our last recording, which is honestly last week. So
Hmm.
it's been a good, I have a lot of cool things in the works right now, but also the last week has been really challenging with like sick kids and just family drama type shit. But
Sure.
I have not gamed as much as I've wanted to lately. Like my even Elden Ring playing has kind of curbed really intensely over the last week, which sucks because I feel like I'm
Mhm.
not like I'm approaching the end game. I feel like I'm like 75% of the way through the game at this point, maybe a little more. I just need to
Mhm.
really get time to dig down and hopefully finish that up and start Final Fantasy or the Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy
I've been
Origin, Stranger of
I've been
Paradise or
curious
something
about
like
it.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I need to get
I've
Minecraft
heard
installed.
some people haven't given it the greatest of reviews from what I understand.
I know, but
But
yeah, some people haven't said positive things. However, other people have been
Mhm.
over the fucking moon about it. So it's like one of those like
Really?
love it or hate
Hmm.
it sort of things. I have seen some
Hmm.
extreme split opinions on it, so
Sure.
I'm kind of curious to check it out, honestly. And you know,
So, I'm gonna since you cut me off in the middle of Minecraft.
yes, I was kind of getting back to that. So like you were gonna say something about Minecraft here.
Yep. So we have a map wall, and each little like map consists of approximately 2,000 squares, I think, from what I understand. And we've got 16 of these now that build off of each other. Okay,
Wow.
so total, so it's a 4 by 4 grid. And then we've got the track to the Woodland Mansion, which is just unbelievable. Because it's okay. So you got the original so it's
Mm-hmm.
one off. So you have to go east one map from the center map. Okay, and then it has an additional 3 maps that direction, and then additional 4 maps south. I think actually no, it's 5 maps south. So it's like an ungodly trek. And we've talked about like maybe putting in tracks so you could like just ride a rail all the way there, but that's way, way into the future. Um, Little brother's just trying to carve out a track there to the Woodland Mansion itself, not putting rails down or anything, just being able to get there through the Nether.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it easier to get there. But that's currently where we're sitting at now, and we're trying to get a base going in the Nether itself. You can't put beds down there, but you can you can just find a kind of a safe room that nothing's going to come after you in. So, and that's what we're working on. But yeah, it's oof, that I mean, we've died so many times, both of us, and I hate dying, and I've died
I know.
died a couple of times. And then I decided, and it was an interesting trek because I went to the other end of the map. So if I went to the northwest map, and he was working all the way down by the Woodland Mansion. So there's we're on opposite ends of the world at that point, and I didn't pack, and I didn't. The guy that usually packs for everything in Minecraft,
Yeah.
is didn't pack well enough. So, and the stupid part, and little brother didn't. So usually little brother marks his portals like he's supposed to.
Yeah.
And this one he didn't. And so it's out in the middle of nowhere. You don't know where it ends. You don't really know specifically where it ends up at. And the closest marked area is half a map away. So at one point, I don't know how I walked into a night because you traverse through the Nether.
Mm-hmm.
And when I popped out in this area, because I wanted to explore this map because it hasn't been explored completely yet, and I popped out, and there's just mobs everywhere. And I had a piglin on the back behind me that went through the portal into the overworld.
What's a piglin?
I almost want to say it's kind of, so there isn't really any true villagers in the Nether, as you probably already figured out.
Mm-hmm.
They're piglins, okay? And they're a neutral mob for the most part. But if you don't have gold on you at the time, they can't see it, it's not equipped or something in some aspect.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as holding a gold compass in one hand, or having a gold helmet, okay? Just something that is gold, okay? And they'll generally just leave you alone. Well, I didn't, and I got hit as I was going through the portal, and he followed me through the portal. Furthermore, there was a witch.
They go after gold?
Well, they go after you if you do not have anything gold on.
Oh, gold wards them, basically. They ignore gold. Okay.
They it's a positive thing, yeah. Anyways, okay. So I followed the portal through, and there's skeletons. There was a skeleton there, 2 or 3 just regular zombies, and I think a witch. And so my first priority is to run away from the witch.
Are witches super nasty in Minecraft?
Oh yeah, they'll throw potions at you and cast status effects.
Oh, good times.
Yeah.
I know how much you like status effects.
Oh yes. So, and they, those status effects will slowly eat poison and things along those lines. They'll slowly eat away at your health. So, not realizing there was so when I first popped out of this portal, I just got mauled, and dropped everything right there and then I went back because I had to pick up all that shit, and at that point I'm running around with my hair on fire and I don't have anything equipped properly, and I get taken out by a creeper, which pissed me off. So I went there a third time, and this time it was actually daytime that I actually popped out at. The other 2 were nighttime. And it doesn't help that this is a dense forest too, so you could still encounter some mobs that are hostile.
Yeah.
And But eventually I got it. I got all my shit together. I got into a situation where I got sunlight overhead, and and I'm kind of equipping everything correctly and whatnot. And then, but these mobs, you know, they ate away my health like you wouldn't believe, and so I didn't have much food. And I know there's that village that's south of the freaking map that's directly south of this portal. I've made this trek before, okay? Mm-hmm. I just didn't encounter so many mobs at the other end of the portal. And so I make a mad dash, like just running my ass off down to this other freaking port or to this map marker, so I can, you know, that's where you can really regroup and get things together and whatnot and so forth. Get your bearings and figure out where you're at, what's going on, you know, and then, you know, go back to the objective at hand, which was to explore this map. Well, it just didn't bode well at all the way around. Because there was horses there that I started using, but what was the issue? There was an issue with the horses. One was really slow. And I didn't have enough food on hand, and the village that this marker was at was a shit village. There were no villagers at it. Apparently, it was taken over or something, but there was only like three buildings there to begin with, and so all I had was a bunch of wheat, and wheat doesn't really help you a whole lot. I guess I could have crafted bread. I never thought about that, but
that's great.
Yeah, it was, like I said, just a massive, just not great. And eventually I gave up. I left the one horse. I found a second horse, and that one actually traversed pretty good as far as speed is concerned. And I took that down to the big base that little brother made by himself. I made that trek before too. Because I just called it a wash at that point, because it's like I really don't have anything to really, you know, assist with exploring or anything along those lines, so I just called it a wash and it just took off south. But that was a mad dash, because I only had three steaks left to eat, and I had to traverse an entire map.
So basically, it was kind of just a shit show from top to bottom.
Yeah, pretty much. And little brother's kind of chuckling to himself, but he actually was dealing with the same issue all the way across the map.
Ah, yes. So you were doing like the same. You were having like a similar like disaster at the same time.
Kind of. Well, yeah. He was trying to build out this trail all the way to that woodland bridge in the Nether. Okay, and he's getting pelted with freaking gas and skeletons and piglet and what the hell are they called? They're zombified piglins.
So when you're in the Nether, I assume you can't clear out the path, right? Like things are always going to spawn and be a threat.
No, you can. You can clear out a path.
So like next time you go and take that path, they're not going to be there.
Yeah. The only kicker is as you're carving the path, which is what he was doing. He was getting pelted with mobs.
Okay.
So, but once he established, like, he's got it figured out, and I'm not totally comfortable with it, but he puts like one row on top, and then he has like two on either side, and then the ground that you sit on. Okay, so he's not making a true to God tunnel, but they can't get you.
Okay, so it's like it's a safe traversal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So it seems like a huge pain in the ass and a lot of work to do, but like ultimately pays off.
Yes, because then you won't have to. I mean, yes, you'll have to travel forever and a day to get to the Woodland Mansion, but you won't have to worry about mobs or anything while trying to get there.
Okay,
so
that's all right.
And you don't have to, because like the Nether is notorious for you falling in lava. That's the number one issue when in the Nether.
I basically need to Google what the Nether is.
It's a spectacular place.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It sounds neat.
It is. But you can get your ass handed to you as well.
Well, that kind of sounds like these kinds of games in general.
That's the risk reward type situation. Yeah. It's like you can mine shit in the Nether and bring it back to the overworld.
Yeah.
So, or the exact opposite. The catch-22 is that you can't put a bed in the Nether. It will explode.
Okay. Well, Jake, I think that probably covers our regular Minecraft update.
Are you sure?
I think
could
so.
keep going.
I'm sure you could. However, we're not here to talk about Minecraft.
We're not? I thought we were. You false, salesman.
And
you just
weirdly,
bait and switched me.
And weirdly, we're not even here to necessarily talk about Final Fantasy.
Whoa, what the fuck?
This is wild, but we're here to talk about music.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's a fucking music episode. But before we get down to business, I would like to talk about just briefly mention something vaguely related, and that is 3 days ago, a new album came out, and that is the album, what might be the final album by Rammstein.
Oh, yeah?
Which I believe is Zeit when pronounced. I think that is German for time.
Okay.
And which feels very appropriate for what might be and is likely their final album.
Wow.
And a lot of the album's themes, and again, I don't speak German, so I don't necessarily know, but have to deal with a lot of time and ending and shit like that. So it's fucking excellent. I've listened to it at least half a dozen times already. It's just, those dudes are one of the few bands that could never stop making music, and I would be happy. I'd be like, fuck yes. You could just fucking do whatever. Just, make me wait 8 years. I don't care. Just take as long as you
keep going.
Yeah, just don't stop. But if they want to stop,
They could do their own version of Chinese democracy.
Dude, I feel like every time they make an album, it's their version of Chinese democracy, because they're there's bands who just kind of shit out the same thing over and over and over without thinking about it.
Like Papa Roach?
I feel, yeah, but even though they're talented and they do a good job.
Don't get me wrong. I love Papa Roach, okay? I am a fan, but I over the last probably 5 years, I have to question the quality of their albums a little bit.
Well, they're a commercial band. They're a commercial band. There's those kind of bands put out a new album every 2 years, and then they tour for a year and a half and do the festival circuit. It's just it's their job,
Yeah.
There's no.
I get it. Like I said, I love the band.
I just think that Rammstein's a band that's not cashing out. We're going to take as long as we fucking want to finish an album, and there's going to be a lot of stylistic similarities because we have a sound, but they're very every album is very distinct. It feels crafted.
Okay.
So it's a different thing, similar but different. So I don't know.
I kind of get what you're saying. I get it totally. I'm not much of a Rammstein fan, but.
I think it's the difference between what I do and fine art. I make art. I'm a graphic designer. I make art, but it is so I can make money. I am doing it because somebody paid me to do a thing. I am contracted to do a thing. Whereas a fine artist is just they many times sell art too, but there's a creative element to it that I'm not doing. I'm not. I have creativity in what I do in order to be successful at what I do, but it's not creative for creative's sake. It's creative to complete an objective.
Well, I give up now. Then if you're not doing it for creative sake, then I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. It's shit. I'm it's that too. Anyway, it's a great album. I highly recommend checking it out. Okay. Speaking of music.
Oh yeah.
We're here to do a music episode.
Oh yeah?
Damn Chocobo. You didn't think we forgot to say damn Chocobo, did you? That's not happening.
He doesn't forget that. Mitch knows better than that.
The last time we did a music episode was a
I'm just saying
long time ago.
You don't forget to say damn Chocobo. That was my point.
No, that's my job, not to forget. Usually my job is to try to get you to say it, but today I'm like, let's get the ball rolling.
Okay.
Jake, the last time we did a music episode, it was about Final Fantasy music exclusively, and we were just picking out favorites and not even just songs we thought were interesting from the history of Final Fantasy. And this time we're doing it a little bit different. What's special about this episode?
This time we opened it up to all video games, but they're not covers.
Yeah, it's just get cool songs from other games that we really like.
Yep. Well,
I have a
you're
guest.
being generous.
I have a guest.
You have a guest.
Hi, Darcy. Wow, you colored a whole page blue and you made some purple marks. Wow.
I know.
It's amazing. I would like to see you. Let's see what you do on this page. I love that page. That's a good page. Let's see what you can do on this one.
Okay.
All right. Close the door, kiddo. Children.
Purple with blue marks, huh?
Yes, she colored an entire page blue and then added some purple marks. Anyway, yes. So, video game music.
Mm-hmm.
We are big lovers of music in general and always have a great love for the music in games. But for whatever reason, it's just not something that comes up on the show to the degree that really reflects how much we care about this shit. So we feel it's important to kind of come out every once in a while and just highlight music specifically and exclusively, you know. So this is always a fun experiment to do. So to get things off, I decided that the first song I wanted to share with you all is a song from a legendary franchise. One that I feel like everyone who knows me and gaming knows I'm a huge fan of, and that is the song Prologue from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Jake, that song is fucking adrenaline pumping and exciting. And like for context, when you start Castlevania Symphony of the Night, everybody knows that's the Alucard game. That's the one that like kind of takes elements from Metroid and does like what essentially is now called the Metroidvania style. But you start the game as Richter Belmont from Castlevania 3. And it's just you're running. It's like more traditional Castlevania styled. You're just badass Richter running through murdering shit, and you run up and you face Dracula, and then it just kind of like you beat him, and then the game starts proper. Like that's just again, it's the song is literally called Prologue because that's what it is. And so sonically, the tone here is also a little bit different. It's more like ass kicking, adrenaline pumping. It's like synthesized guitars rocking out. Right. And it's just a really cool, exciting way to start this game that otherwise has a very different tone.
Okay.
And I just think it's it's a very exciting start to a game. It rocks hard. It still feels like it's got some of the gothic-y elements that are very, very standard throughout this soundtrack. It's just more rockin' than what you'll find, which is appropriate considering you're kicking a ton of ass and you're playing a character who you don't otherwise play as. So, like, it makes the tone shift when you switch to Alucard feel more pronounced.
Yeah. I'll give this one props too. I think it's because you don't really hear a whole lot of this type of sound, at least for its age, during the period that Symphony of the Night came
Yeah, I
out.
think it's like 1997. I think 96.
Yeah. I mean, they were starting to like really get into
Hi,
this.
Darcy. Darcy, you're interrupting, kiddo. Yeah. Yes, that's another one. That's really cool. Wow, thank you. Here you go, kiddo. Okay. You gotta be quiet now. Daddy's recording, okay? Darcy, shh,
But
quiet. Don't dance. Don't dance. You can explore around upstairs, but you gotta be quiet, okay? She's just dancing around the room now, like she's ignoring everything I said.
lovely.
Anyway, you were saying.
So yeah, I was saying so like for this time, I mean, you don't see a whole lot of incorporation as far as rock music is concerned. So that's definitely a slap in the face in a sense, and I mean a good one, not necessarily a negative one in regards to how the game starts itself. So
I think almost more accurately, I think rock music and metal has always been prominent in video game music. It's just it was harder to get it across.
and that's kind of my point.
Yeah,
here
the
in that,
sound.
in this,
Like I think this is nailing the
couldn't-
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, you really it was difficult to incorporate this type of sound into video games until the PlayStation era, which is when I believe this first came out. So with that in mind, I mean, you don't see a whole lot of SNES or even Nintendo games. I think Sega might have dipped its toe into it a couple of times with like Ultra Beast, but
I mean, I think it just sounds heavier, you know.
Yep.
Like it feels more like 80s. I think also our next song selection, I think, might kind of get into like there's game franchise who are leaning into heavy like rock and heavy metal type sounds earlier. It's just like the sound chips and stuff couldn't sound quite there yet by that point. Like, you know, why don't you move on to the next song we're doing and we can kind of move into that.
Okay. The next song is the title theme for Mega Man 3. So I've always been a fan of just like a kind of a bluesy sound, just in general, and kind of throwing back a little bit to the previous song is that it's very, very difficult to incorporate that guitar sound into an 8-bit genre, situation. So with that in mind, it was like the closest thing I could see like really getting into blues, and as far as the starting out and just kind of a lazy afternoon as it starts, and then it's like there's a call to arms like about a minute into the song that just ramps up and gets you just adrenaline pumping, just like the last song in a sense.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna
really,
we pick a couple songs that kind of do that, where it's like it's a little bit of a build up and then it just blows up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's going to be kind of the way the name of the game here, especially this song's. I've always gotten a kick out of it. I always like it. I like hearing covers of it, even though none of them. I don't agree with any of the covers. But
I think the thing that strikes me and how it relates to what we were just talking about is I think Mega Man is the first game that I know of that was really leaning into rock and roll. I mean, he's like you and I imagine almost everybody else listening knows, is that he's called Rockman in Japan. Like he is rock and roll. Like I mean, Roll is the name of his sister, right? So
Right.
like, I think they're
I didn't know
trying
that.
really hard to
Okay.
capture that vibe of rock music, and
Right.
and I think they get it, but because it doesn't sound necessarily like guitars, and we're just hearing the structure,
Mm-hmm.
rock is derived from blues. So
Sure.
like, especially someone who's a little bit more trained like Jake,
Mm-hmm.
you can, if you understand that sort of like structure and history, you can hear the blues
Mm-hmm. And
element of
just
it super clearly
right.
because it hasn't been put through electric guitars and heavy metal drums and shit. It's put through a fucking like electronic processor synthesizer.
Yep.
So
Synthesizer. Yep.
so the
Mm.
origins of its structure is a little more obvious.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
kicks ass. It's a hell of a song.
Yeah. I think it. Yeah. It's just it really, like I said, it charges you up. So. But yeah.
Speaking of being charged up,
Uh-oh.
I want to imagine putting in a game in your Sega Genesis, and you're super
Mm-hmm.
excited to play, and then you turn it on, and there's no start screen, there's no game brought to you by Sega, made by whatever.
Uh-huh.
It just literally loads up the fucking game, and you're playing as one of the X-Men, and it's snowing. And you got to run and beat up a bunch of random dudes. And if you don't look at the box or you have no context for anything, you're just like, what the fuck's going on? I didn't even get to select my character. You probably think your game's broken. I certainly did. So, but then you say fuck it and you're going to play, and you play through the level, and then the level ends. And then all of a sudden, the start screen, the intro title screen hits, and this song kicks fucking in. So, X-Men 2 Clone Wars, game starts, and you're hit with this like synthy beat that's like a slow build-up, and it's weirdly, and like it's very electronic and synthy, which I don't necessarily associate with the X-Men. I associate with fucking the when I think X-Men, I think of the 90s Fox cartoon theme song, which is rock music. So like when I finally got to there, I was like, this took me back. Like the way the game started was weird and surprising, and then when the music kicked in, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And it has always stuck with me in terms of structure and like how the sound plays. Like I always dug how it plays, like what the sound is, the vibe and everything, and like it's one of those things that also has a little bit of a build up, and the artist who made it, whose name totally escapes me.
So
all right, I gotta find this guy who did this soundtrack is like he's from a band.
Okay.
And I had it listed. Now I can't remember it.
Here's where I'm gonna call you out. You like anything with heavy drums? I'm sorry to say.
Oh yeah, no, I do. I do.
You are all about the drums, Rich. Don't care how you look at it. This song is kind of reflective of its time when it came out, anyways, because it definitely has that like late '80s, early '90s type of sound, especially from an electronic standpoint. In my opinion, whenever they try to reflect something like from a futuristic standpoint. So
oh yeah, no.
it just plays, and don't get me wrong, good song. I enjoy it. I have no issues with it. I'm just, like I said, just calling you out because you love the drums.
And that's all right. The band, the game's composer is a guy named Kurt Harland, and he is from the band Information Society, which is an electronic music band. So that was
it ain't so.
That's what I was like. Fucking yeah. Like that was the thing. I was like, who the fuck did it? I remembered who did it, and I really dug it.
Did you know? But yeah, because I could almost see something like this. It doesn't. It's not a part of that soundtrack. Okay, I'm not saying it is. Okay, but I could see it being ripped from Terminator 2.
Oh yeah. What it reminds me of is fun fact: the same artist also did music for A Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, and like the main theme from Soul Reaver is like, oh yeah. You can fucking feel like I can feel that like kind of like heavy like synth pop drum sort of vibe. This music, what it reminds me of is like goth club music a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
I know.
Kind of edgy look a little bit.
Yeah, I mean the vibe. It like hell. My third date with my wife, we went to a club here at called Numbers in Houston.
Uh-oh.
And like the first dance we ever had was to Wish by 9 Inch Nails.
Oh man.
So it's like it just hits that whole vibe hits me. And the fact that it's like I think part of the reason why it fits this soundtrack is X-Men Clone Wars deals with the Phalanx, which is like an electronic, they're like the X-Men's version of the Borg from Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
The second level of the game involves you invading a Sentinel factory. Like the cover of the box of this has like an electronic like hologram that was even used during like an X-Men crossover event featuring the Phalanx called the Phalanx Covenant. Okay. Which is also like one of the first crossovers I read in the X-Men. So it like hits me in every way, and like it fits the vibe. But there's other like really, really good songs in the soundtrack too. So if you just like heavy electronic game music that's just got a little bit of a clubby beat and drums that I'm obviously a sucker for, that's the song.
Yeah, I would say it quite literally could be on a 9 Inch Nails album.
It almost could. Jake, the next song, however, has nothing to do with heavy drums.
The next song is it's actually I can't ever pronounce his name right. It's I want to say Ezio, but it's Ezio's family from Assassin's Creed 2.
All right, Jake. Yeah. That song kicks ass. I also pronounce it Ezio. I pronounce an invisible like a T. I don't know why. Okay. I don't think there's a T.
I think that's how they pronounce it in the game. So, but yeah, it's a theme that kind of stays with me. I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, it's beautiful, a little haunting. There's like a driving element to it. It just. It's fucking
all the way
awesome.
around. Yeah. Yep. And I think it gets shit on a little bit, not a lot, but
what?
I like no, not the song. The thing I'm talking about here in a little bit. Okay. The idea of maybe incorporating a chorus with an orchestra a little bit.
Nobody shits on that. Who shits on that? Who shits on that?
I don't know. Some of it. Some people don't like it. I mean,
somebody needs to get fucking slapped upside their head.
Okay, fair enough. But I do like the I especially have a soft spot for when you start you start with an orchestra or a symphony of some sort, and then you slowly incorporate the chorus with it. Great example of that, and I apologize, but I'm going to drop it in here. Was Final Fantasy's the Prelude.
Yeah.
So
there's versions of the Prelude that do that.
Yeah. But the point being that it's a haunting theme that, for me, it stays with me. There'll be periods if it'll just appear in my head and I'll start thinking about it. So and it's one that really just hits home a little bit. So
yeah, it's just Jesper Kyd is the composer. Their entire catalog, I feel like, kind of has this vibe, especially in Assassin's Creed. I think the music in Assassin's Creed is very consistent, but I think this is one of the strongest tracks in the entire franchise. And I feel like it's like
it's actually interwoven throughout the entire franchise as well.
I think so. Yeah. And it feels appropriate,
Yeah. I mean, all the way up till Valhalla, I think it is, that just came out.
Oh, really? They still keep using it then? Wow.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
It's a good theme. Yep. It's really good.
Yep. So they'll do like a twist or a variation.
Yeah.
In accordance with that game, as far as getting the feel.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I mean, it's still there. You can still hear it. So.
Awesome. Great song. I also like a thing that always will get me in that kind of music, and it's like it's a really common thing, like in a lot of, like, whether it be like this kind of music or in like even rock music, where like you'll build, and then you'll cut nearly to silence and then start building up again, usually with like a even softer instrument than you started originally. Like how there's like a point in the middle of this where it drops out and then it starts up with like an acoustic guitar or something like that, just really softly. And then it builds up again to an even bigger crescendo than it did in the first half.
Right. And then it really hits home towards like probably towards the end of the last 30 to 20 seconds.
I know one thing that I'm always a sucker for in a lot of music that I listen to, when it's not just like a straightforward, when I just don't want to get my butt kicked in by a hard driving rock track. I like.
There's a time when you don't want your butt kicked in.
Sometimes, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails and Smashing Pumpkins fan, is they understand that like the cinematic quality and storytelling in a song, and how like building. There's a lot of Nine Inch Nails songs, Smashing Pumpkins song. Tool is a huge example of this, where the song itself is just constantly building and changing and growing, and it's like it's telling a story just with sound. And like, I mean, a lot of times when you put on a song, like a typical like just enjoyable rock track, it's just kind of one thing. It's like a chorus, bridge, rinse and repeat, sort of thing. Stick a
Pretty
solo
much, yeah.
towards the end, whatever. Like, and that's good. That's a fine structure. But I just love it when somebody like
breaks the norm.
I mean, not even like it's a different norm. It's just it's an unpredictable. What makes it fun to listen to is that it's unpredictable. Like you don't know where it's going. Like you're reading a story. Like it's not. It'll turn around and come back to the theme. Like there's usually a theme, or kind of like the general skeleton of the song that's kind of repeated differently and built upon and changed throughout the song. But like, I just like that. There's a lot. The band Duran Gray is another example that does that on their longer songs. Like there's so many bands, like early Atreyu. People are like, really, Atreyu? But yes, early they've even said this themselves. They're like, we did not know how to make music, so we just did what we want. And that's why some of those early, like their first album and even their second album a little bit, kind of does that sometimes. And it makes it really fun to listen to, because they didn't know typical pop, rock, metal structure. So they even intentionally go back to it on like probably the last album they did that I think was good. It's like called Long Live. And there's a couple songs they intentionally kind of do that sort of like that style of structuring a song. And I like that. I like it a lot more than when they do typical rock music structure. So it's good. It's good.
You like it.
It is. But you know what else is good?
What else is good?
Typical rock music structure. I'm here to talk to you about Rules of Nature! lot of interesting things about Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. And the main thing about what makes it special is like it is so wildly different from what is expected from a Metal Gear game. It breaks convention. It is not a stealth game. It is a full-on balls-to-the-wall action game in the vein of a Devil May Cry or a God of War or Ninja Gaiden. The music soundtrack is very rock and electronic, like heavy-based. It's like the first main canonical story that Hideo Kojima did not direct. The game was built by Platinum Games.
Okay.
And Kojima like kind of was involved in the story and kind of coming up with parts of it, but he didn't like write it and do it wasn't a thing that he helmed from start to finish like pretty much every other Metal Gear that counts. And it doesn't feature Snake, it features fucking Raiden. And so it's a weird fucking game. The soundtrack rules. And it does this fascinating thing with the soundtrack that like now has become more standard. But at the time when this game came out, wasn't as to what I'm familiar with. So what this game's music is structured as is they took every track in the game and did like multiple versions of them.
Okay.
So there's like a relatively more mellow, just electronic-y version. Then there's like a version with guitars in, and then there's a version that's heavy as fuck with vocals. And like, depending on the intensity of what's going on in the game, it will switch between which version of the song it's using at a time.
Okay.
So it will transition as the action, like, because like it's an action game, so like action changes as you're playing, like whether you're moving or platforming or you run into a group. And if you're just fighting a regular group of enemies, it'll go from like the cool backgroundy video game music to bringing in guitars and it's rocking. And then if you're fighting a long time and a big badass enemy, like a hard enemy comes in, the vocals will kick in and the drums and everything will amp up to match the frantic action on screen, especially like boss fights and stuff like that. So like the music reflects the intensity that you as a player feel, and it amps it even more.
So that you're like, oh shit, I gotta sit up straight for this. Basically.
Yeah, you're just like, fuck yes! Oh my god! You just want to, and then so your adrenaline's pumping, and then you beat the thing, and you're so pumped. Like, and then it's like, like, you know how like when a song ends and it's like, whoosh, like you know how like it suddenly drops, and it'll do that sometimes where it drops back down to the mellow thing. And it's like you just did a fucking touchdown and it's to come down and you just want to spike your controller like, fuck yes! And Rules of Nature is like, I think possibly the best song in this excellent A+ soundtrack.
Gotcha.
I love it to death.
It reminds me of Blow Me Away from Halo 2 by Breaking Benjamin.
Oh yeah. This song was the vocals in this song is done by Jason Charles Miller, who I've mentioned on the podcast before, especially on like the Final Fantasy 14 episode I did by myself. He's the lead singer, songwriter, composer for the industrial rock band Godhead, who's largely defunct by now, but like 10 years ago they were one of my favorite bands. Like fucking 20 years ago even. So I've kind of followed this dude's career. I didn't hear he was doing a Metal Gear game. I was playing Rising Revengeance, and I heard Rules of Nature, and I was like, that sounds like Jason. And I'm listening, I was like, it just sounds like a fucking Godhead song. What the fuck? And I had to pause the game and hit Google and like, who did the soundtrack to this? And I was like, he's on a couple of the fucking tracks. Holy shit! I even sent him like a Twitter like, holy shit, dude, this rules. Because like when Godhead went defunct, he went and started doing a solo project that's country based.
Oh,
so he doesn't do a lot of hard rock anymore.
That kind of probably takes the air out of your balloons there, doesn't it?
It does. It's good. He's an excellent country music, and it's more on the harder side of country music. It's like almost southern rock sometimes, but it's still not my cup of tea.
We're not. I don't think there's a hard side to country music.
I mean, there's as hard as it gets, that kind of thing. Like the southern rockish thing, like that sort of side of it, and like so. I was really excited. So it was like it filled this whole in my soul that I needed filled. And so whenever he comes on and does a video game thing, it's usually heavy. It's like hard rock type stuff, and it's always exciting to hear him do vocals for that stuff. He's also a good dude. Follow him online. He does a lot of like D&D stuff. Anyway, song rules. I love how it's structured. I love how it's done in the game. I love the entire soundtrack. It was the first video game soundtrack I bought on vinyl.
Wow.
Think about that.
Actually, I bought it on. You actually bought a video game soundtrack on vinyl. That's
I actually
impressive.
own quite a bit now.
No kidding.
Yeah, I own the Resident Evil remake, the original Resident Evil remake. I own the original Resident Evil 2. I own The Witcher 3. I own a couple other. I don't need to go through the list of everything, but I have a good amount.
Yeah, it's quite a few.
Yeah,
Yep.
like 4 or 5 Castlevania ones, a couple Silent Hills. Like I got a couple, but it's got to be music that I'm going to listen to, not just like background music that's good as a background song.
Right.
And
that's what your Prime is for, right?
Yeah. It's just got to be good. So yeah, check out Rules of Nature, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
It's a good song.
Jake, what's next?
Rich. The next song is Arkham City main theme from Batman Arkham City. For the and I don't think this is a fair selection.
Jake, you're right. This song is almost cheating because it's like, hey, Rich, do you like Batman? Dude, I love Batman. Do you like electronic-y bits? Dude, I love electronic-y bits. Do you like a good drum backbone to a song? Yes, I love a good drum backbone to a song. Boy, do I got a song for you. Do you like it when it swells and gets epic? Oh, tell me, what's this song? Like, here's a song that does all of that.
Well, so like I said, I kind of think this song is a little bit cheating because it is, in my opinion, highly derivative of either The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises, because there's a lot of similarities between the two between that and that soundtrack, the song and that soundtrack. So
I think that's not just. I think that's just. What am I trying to say? A lot of composed music did that at this point. Like it's not. Okay. It is not just.
They ripped off their movie counterparts.
No, I think that is literally just like what a lot of music was doing at this point. I mean, fucking, oh God, the guy who did Inception.
Well, I believe he does. I think it's Danny Elfman. I think it is.
No,
is
not Danny Elfman. Fucking. Now I'm googling it real quick. God damn it. Is it Hans Zimmerman? Hans Zimmerman.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, I think, but. It is Hans Zimmerman that did Batman as well.
Oh, that's true. And the Mass Effect 3, let's see, Mass Effect, there's a guy who did the Mass Effect 3 soundtrack, also does a bunch of movies. Now I'm Googling it real quick. He's another big name in music. Fucking God. Clint Mansell, that's it.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him from the Requiem from a Dream.
Yeah, those guys all kind of like I think are big names in that sort of sound of scoring. And this is just in that vein, but it's still a good example of that thing. This guy, he actually got nominated for the soundtracks that he's done to these games. I wonder did Arkham City get nominated for anything? Let's see.
I don't know. I didn't look that far into it.
I'm going to look real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the wiki.
You're committed, man.
I am. I want to know. Of course, my thing is.
It doesn't. Like, well, your computer sucks. You should get a new computer.
I should. It's almost like that's something we've talked about. I don't know. He's been nominated for some sort of awards for those soundtracks.
But yes. So, but like I said, that's it. I love how it swells towards the end here. As far as the song is concerned, and they get that again back to the chorus because that's when that chorus starts kicking in towards the back half of the song, and it really just lights you on fire and just charges you up. So, but yeah, I really enjoy songs that have a big swell to them like that. So, and Rich knows this. So.
Oh, I do.
but yeah, great stuff. Like I said, I still kind of think it rips off like Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises a little bit, but just the way the beginning kind of sounds. But yeah, it's one that was really up there. I was like, that has to be on the list. So yeah, I that's the reason why I picked it, because it was just, to me, anything that swells like that is like, I gotta have it. So
yeah, it's extremely good. Which I suppose probably brings me to my selection for the next song, and that is the front hall from the Resident Evil 2 original soundtrack.
Not the remake soundtrack.
Not the remake.
Original.
No. The original. Jake, this song is awesome in a totally different way from all previous songs we've been listening to, that we've been jamming to.
It doesn't have heavy drums.
It doesn't. It's sometimes there's a lot of songs we picked so far are either like drive-in rock tunes for like battle and action and excitement, or they're like themes that kind of set the tone for the beginning. It's like you're like it's kind of getting you ready to play the game, or it's like the trailer, you know? This is what I consider like it's a background storytelling song. It's the sort of thing that you don't think about when you're playing the game. It's just there to build this. It's part of the set dressing of a scene.
Like Balam Garden from Final Fantasy VIII.
This is a song that plays when you get into the front hall of the police station in Resident Evil 2. This is after like the game opens and you are out in the city streets. Immediately under threat from zombies. There's nowhere that's safe. The story beat there is Leon Kennedy, the rookie police dude, and Claire Redfield, the young college-aged sister of the heroic male from the first Resident Evil, are trying to get to the police station because they think it'll be safe there. And so you as the player have now just made it to the police station and got in, and you're given this, even the first camera shot is like a panning shot of this gigantic spacious room, and you don't, for the first time in the fucking game, you're not under threat, direct threat
right now,
but and you were under the impression you'll be safe here, and you see this giant empty room and there's no people.
Yeah.
And this song is playing, and it's like, it's not...
It's creepy as fuck, is what it is.
What it's telling you is, you're out of the frying pan, but you may have just stepped into the fire. Like, there might not be something immediately here to bite your fucking face off, but shit is about to get real. Like, it's mysterious, it's haunting, and the song is telling you something fucked up is happening here. Because you think this is the safe place. You think, and there's not a fucking soul. And this is a huge entry room of this fucking police station. Like, there's a fucking, the office desk. It's a 2-story room with like a balcony going around. Like, nothing. There's some blood stains on the ground. It's the first time in the game that you have like multiple options of where you can go. It looks. And it's just like, it sets up the mystery. But there's also like this moment in the song where it kind of like picks up, and there's like this little bit of like a heroic, like I think it's like a horn or something. It's like, bah, 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 bah. And it's like, fucking pick your nuts up off the floor and let's get going, sort of like there's just this little sting of like, you know, it's focusing on the space and the mystery and the potential danger, but that little bit of like heroism, like, you know, Leon or Claire, whoever you're playing as, is like, they're not fucking afraid. They're ready to get shit on, get going. And the player is ready to kick some ass. So like, it fits the scene, the room, the setting, the time perfectly. Like it's I don't think the Resident Evil soundtracks get a lot of credit because they're very much just, they're set dressing, you know, they're creepy background music and it's set dressing for the scene that you're in, but they always do a really, really good job of where they are.
Okay. Yep. Let's see that.
Jacob, speaking of set dressing and kind of setting the vibe for where you're at, why don't you tell me about this next song?
So this is going to be a huge contrast to the song that you just listened to in that sense, and that's Gerudo Valley. Now this one's the one that I kind of had us listen to was from the Ocarina of Time collection, but it was actually originally first started in the Link to the Past.
Oh, okay. All right, Jake, tell me more about this fucking wild
honestly,
ass song.
straight up, I prefer actually the people's covers of this song more than the actual original, because they seem a lot more intense than this one in particular. Richard was telling me it's got that salsa vibe and whatnot, and you know it's good and I enjoy it, yes. But honestly, like some of the people that have covered this song, like just blow it up and make it like a real, like just go, and add so much more to it that you're like, this is all part of the same song. This is derived from this, you know, this type of song, and it's really hard to believe, to be honest, what these cover artists pick out from this song in particular, and just make it more. They just add to it. I know there's two people I know, they're instrumentalists that I'm gonna name drop and just to throw it out there. One was Taylor Davis. Mm-hmm. She is actually kind of an up and coming artist. She's a violinist, but she's actually working on doing her own composing and things along those lines. And it'd be right up your alley, Rich. It's got heavy drums.
Oh, perfect.
So, and it's very, very, very driving, but she's also featured as the violinist in it, so it's epic. And then the other one that I'm going to name drop here is Kyle Landry. He actually does a duet, four hands, as far as playing the piano, with another well-known pianist and they just go to town on it. Weirdly enough, it's like a minute longer than the original. and Taylor's version is actually 2 minutes longer than the original.
I think, when it comes to a cover, I'm okay with somebody kind of expanding and building upon the original. And kind of going a different direction. I mean, it is weird sometimes when, like, it's art and, art's up to interpretation. But it is always frustrating when somebody interprets that art very differently from what you do. But it's also sometimes interesting.
And in this case, it's got a nice beat and a nice jive as far as this original is concerned. I don't want to take away from that, but it's good. But I prefer the cover artist more. So
this is another one of those songs that I think is kind of a storytelling song in terms of it's supposed to pick you up. It's supposed to be a fun change of pace and like vibe from what you're otherwise doing in Zelda. Like that's the point of doing these like wild ass songs in a game like Zelda or any other game, because it's it immediately kind of sets the player, like, you can't ignore it. You immediately notice something is different even before you start really paying attention. Like, it sonically sounds like, oh, okay, this is and it's going to change your expectation for how you interact with people. Because there's going to be character interactions, whether it be fighting or whether it be talking to NPCs who are non-hostile. Like,
and in this case, I first like I said, so I've been listening to the song forever, okay, and it wasn't until we got into A Link to the Past when we did the podcast that I believe I encountered its first occurrence, so to speak. And it was on our way to, I believe, it was a palace, I think it was. I want to say it was a dungeon, I know that much, but it was like the sand dungeon, if I recall correctly. So, but yeah, that was it. It's a good song, and I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that to be in here so early, because I mean, that's an SNES game, you wouldn't expect something that to arrive like that, but they expanded upon it with the Ocarina of Time version, so it's a little bit different, but it's because obviously you're going from a 16-bit to Ocarina of Time, which is I think 32 or 64.
I think these games, like Zelda, kind of does a thing much like the like Final Fantasy does with the Chocobo theme, the Prelude. They bring it back.
Yep. They make a modification to it and give it a different vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of like it when things like that
occur. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So. It's kind of like, why build a history if you're not, like referencing it, you should. I think most games should do that more often. I don't have one. I'm not picking it, but one that I almost did for Resident Evil was every Resident Evil game has a save room. Like a safety room, like where there's like a treasure chest, a typewriter to save. Like it's your safe spot. There's a theme that usually goes with them, and there's different ones, but they every game kind of has those, and I feel like they all have a similar vibe, and they're like elements of them that are repeated. And I almost wish Resident Evil had more of those.
Okay. So, but your next song, Rich?
Yeah, my next song is actually a return to something, not a return to that like necessarily in terms of game, but in terms of like a similar sound. I'm going with Devil Trigger from Devil May Cry 5.
Clutching its power, trying to break free. Gotta let it out.
Jacob,
I'm gonna shamefully name drop an artist.
This song,
and it's not a good one.
Oh fuck! This song does like almost everything that I want a song to do. That's like a fun rock song, but it also pulls on a little bit of that building element. Like it builds in the beginning. It has a pace change midway through where it drops out and does like a totally different vibe. It's got mixed vocals between male and female vocals. There's screaming vocals. There's sung vocals. Heavy drums, electronics. It sounds like the sort of thing I would have grinded with my wife on our we would have gotten down on at Numbers like I was talking about earlier because there's a gothy vibe.
Yep. Yeah, it sounds like a Manson song, Rich.
There are elements. It sounds like it sounds like that world of music, but like a fun club version, kind of. Like maybe. You could see whoever, like, if this was a band, they would have toured with like a Nine Inch Nails or a Marilyn Manson or something. It's not a band; it's a bunch of artists together for. Sure,
but like I said, it just sounds like one. So to me, it does. At least it does. So, yeah, it's but it's definitely interesting. I'll give you that. I know it's not a Jake song. That's for certain.
No, I imagine it's not.
It might have been it could have been a young Jake song, but it's not an old Jake song.
This song is kind of an expansion on what was started with the music and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, because Devil May Cry 5 takes a lot of that structural element where there's different versions of the track that kind of like change in intensity as the intensity builds.
Sure.
And it has different themes depending on the character that you play as. So this is the theme for Nero. But Dante and this other character named V all have different themes. And Nero is probably like the character who, going into this game, I liked the least. But he has the best theme. And he's really fun in the game, so I like him. Like, he's cool now.
But he's not your favorite one out of the three.
Well, Dante's the best. Fucking by far. V is the most interesting. But like I think they changed the character of Nero enough to where he is. They changed him up enough to be a little bit less of like a generic angsty anime protagonist. Like he's got a little more going on in terms of his visual aesthetic. And
despite like, the stereotype.
Yeah, like he suffered a massive character change between Devil May Cry 4 and Devil May Cry 5. He was like a new character they introduced in 4 to try to mix up who the main character was. And I think they kind of pulled a Raiden to make him more interesting. And not making him like a robot, but although he does have a prosthetic robot arm now. So I guess they kind of literally did. Either way, it's a cool song. It's a cool game. I love how it's structured in the game. I think part of these these sorts of songs, it's really good when there's like you could shout the title. So like Rules of Nature, you can scream Rules of Nature, like really, and it's really fun. Although Devil Trigger, it's more like I like how it's used in here, like the phrase pull my devil trigger, like it's a little bit like
innuendo.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right. Like it's this. If I could, this song is like pure sex to me. It's like it's not inherently a sexy song.
No.
But to me, it feels like how I want, like it's how I would view like an erotic moment. Like there's an intensity, but there's a sensuality, but there's like, there's a softness and a hardness. It's pure. It's everything that I want.
Like I said, it's a rich song.
This is the only video game song in the history of time that was in my top 5 Spotify songs. The year this song came out, it broke like my top 5 songs for the year, like of listening. And I stand
by my statement.
I was like, how the hell did this happen? And it's not like it's like this fucking this achievement in artistic creativity. It just hits all of the.
Sounds like it is, Rich. Sounds like you don't encounter this a whole lot.
It just hits all those like pleasure centers that we all have, It's like it's and that's not to take it like it's not well done. It's extremely well done. It just hits what I want out of a fun song. To the point where it goes beyond. This is one of those few songs, much like Rules of Nature, and there's pretty much anything from Silent Hill that breaks out of just, this is not to me just video game music. This is just fun music. I will put this on a playlist of typical like music like that I'm just jamming to. And there's not a lot of video games that I would do that.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I've got kind of one of those as well.
Yeah. Jake, what's your next song?
The next song here is we're flipping the script a little bit on this one.
Yeah.
Is Dr. Wily's Stage 1 from Mega Man 2. So this is a song. It's instantly recognizable by anybody that does any sort of Mega Man play at all.
Oh
okay?
yeah, and it's like the, are you pumped? You better be pumped because you're gonna get pumped.
I don't think I've ever heard someone say the same word like in 3 different connotations. Are you pumped? You better be pumped because you're gonna get pumped. That was pretty good, Rich. I'll give you that one.
I feel like that's this song in a nutshell. It's just blazing right out the gate, you know.
Well, so the song takes place after you defeat all the robot masters, okay?
Yeah.
And you're taking on Wily's castle, okay? And this is the entrance that you're doing to the castle. You know, kind of like what Vampire Killer is to Castlevania, okay? So that's this preparatory stage. You're on your way to to Wily's castle. You're taking down things left and right and whatnot. And at the end of this stage, I believe you take on a robotic dragon. It's iconic. As far as the stage itself is concerned, from the start, the music, and then the end boss and the boss of that stage. So, but I would argue that Mega Man 2 is probably got one of the better soundtracks to the Mega Man series. Because all the songs are iconic to me. I still think about Metal Man and Quick Man as far as their themes are concerned. And then as you progress through the stages of Dr. Wily's castle, these songs get better and better too.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons why I took this one in particular was because it's a little bit more iconic than those others. Because a lot of people know about it, a lot of people have heard of it. It pumps you up, it gets you going. It's a great workout song to an extent, especially if someone does like a cover of it that's not like the 8-bit sound. So it actually brings back a few memories as well, because this was the first game that me and my dad both played together as far as Mega Man 2 is concerned. So, we would swap back and forth, and you know, there would be times where I would complete a stage and then he would complete a stage, and we just built upon it and whatnot. So, it was a really good positive experience all the way around. So, but yeah, it was one of the main reasons why I was like, I gotta choose this song. This one has to be in the list. So. But yeah, thoughts, Rich?
I think this song rules. I think Mega Man is some of the most consistently awesome soundtracks to a video game in history.
Yes. I don't care what you say, it beats Mario.
Oh yeah, for my taste.
Yeah.
I think the only classic games that come even close is Castlevania and Final Fantasy.
Yep. I would agree with that too. So I actually I would throw Zelda in there. Zelda's probably pretty iconic as well. So come on.
Yeah, I think Zelda's really good too. There's a
The
bunch.
main theme, the overworld theme to Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, that's a legend. That's
Caveat that we didn't. I don't think we mentioned at the beginning of the episode was that we didn't want to choose like real iconic ones like The Legend of Zelda or Mario or
much like how when we did the Final Fantasy episode, like we did not want it to be just like entire episodes that were building up to songs that everybody already knew about, like One Winged Angel,
or Metal Gear Solid,
or like the Metal Gear theme. Like there's certain songs that I think everybody knows, so we wanted to kind of throw in a couple extras that were like,
right.
Things that like I feel like everyone listening will know of a couple of these songs, but you probably might not know all of them.
Right. So, but yeah, that was kind of the main reason why this one got chose versus say some of the more, why did you choose this one? Well, it's probably because everybody knows it. So, like Rich actually like omitted, what was it? It's not Heart of Fire, but it was Bloody Tears.
Yeah, Bloody Tears from Castlevania, because that one was close. But that was like, you know what? I feel like that one's probably just a little bit too well known, so I'm gonna back off on that and try to pick something a little bit less like celebrated from the Castlevania catalog.
Right.
So like,
and I wanted to choose Metal Gear Solid because I loved it, but I was like,
I mean, but then the trick is like, which one are you gonna pick? Are you gonna pick the original Metal Gear Solid theme, or are you gonna pick the redone one from Metal Gear 2, which is the one that they've kind of carried forward?
Gotcha.
I actually prefer the original, but they, I guess they got sued by a Russian composer because it was too similar to a song that dude had done. And I think there was definitely some similarities, but it wasn't like this is an obvious ripoff.
Right.
So like, I don't know. Konami was just like, you know what, not worth the risk. So fair enough.
So, but anyways, on to your next song, Rich.
Jake, sometimes you rock so hard that you just need to take a fucking break and relax. And sometimes I like a song that you just need to just chill the fuck out. Like you need a moment of safety and relaxation and the darkest worlds imaginable. And so I'm picking the Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls 1. To me, this song is another storytelling song where Dark Souls opens and you're kind of in danger constantly. And Dark Souls is all about getting fucked. I mean, the whole Soulsborne series is like you were under threat from even the lowest enemy.
Right.
And like you as a player are threatening to everything from the start even, but like there's a concern and lack of safety throughout the Dark Souls 1 especially.
Okay.
And when you get past the intro castle dungeon area, like you get to the end and you beat this boss that probably was fucking you up because you didn't realize the trick to beating it because you were stubborn, and then you figured out the trick and then you still died a whole bunch trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you were rich.
Yeah, that's me. And then you figure it out, but then you still died, but then you did it right, and then you finally beat it, and then you won. And then you go out, and then you get grabbed by a giant fucking crow and flown to the middle of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck? And where you get dropped off is like this place called the Firelink Shrine, and it's like the central hub to Dark Souls 1. And it's the only real safe spot.
Okay.
And it's kind of the first bit where you start getting a little bit more lore of what the fuck is going on. There's a guy who's like, it's called like the Forlorn Knight or something like that. Like he's got like a bunch of names from the community, and it's just like this guy who's a knight who's just chilling out by this fire, and he's like, everything sucks and we're all fucked, so why try? I mean, if you want to keep trying, go be my guest, but we're all fucked. And you're like, okay. And so like there's this music playing that is like, you're safe and you can take a breath and you can use this is your first bonfire this is not your first, but it's like the main bonfire you're going to be using in this game, and that's your checkpoint. It's like a place to respawn. It's a place to use your souls to level up and stuff like that. This is the hub where characters that you find in the game will congregate over time if you complete their quests or you get far enough into the game. And it's just like there's like a sense of safety but mourning to it. It's a little bit haunting because the world is fucked. Like, and it's
all fucked.
Yeah, and I mean it's totally fucked, and like it just fits the place, the story, the vibe so perfectly. And it's just every time I hear it, it's like, yeah, like I get the vibes. It's like I can take a breath, but don't forget things are fucked. It's like, I know. And it's kind of like the save. It's like the only example I can think of in another game of like the save rooms from the Resident Evil series where you're safe, but the second you leave here, you're fucked.
Reminds me of the Diablo town theme.
Yeah, that is the same vibe.
Yeah,
that is 1000% the vibe.
You're fucked, but you're good here.
Yeah. Do you want to?
The world's going to hell, but.
So you can keep throwing yourself into fucking bullshit, dying over and over and over and over, or you can stay here like this knight who's given up and go hollow yourself.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
Right.
And it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful piece. It's an excellent additive piece to the game and the scenes that it takes place in.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Jake,
Rich,
your next piece.
My next piece. Okay. The next piece is kind of an iconic one a little bit. It's from Kingdom Hearts, and it's The Other Promise, or Roxas's theme. The themes are very kind of a melancholical type of song, because it's the first appearance of it is actually of the fight between Roxas and Sora. And those of you who know who Roxas is, he virtually doesn't really exist in a sense, and he's kind of fighting for definition of himself. And that's where the fight itself comes into play between Roxas and Sora here, and it's there's a lot of sadness in my opinion regarding the song itself, and it's very touching to me, just because I feel I can relate to Roxas's situation sometimes. So, but the point being that is, I think it's an awesome theme, and it swells just like all the other ones that I've picked up that I've chosen in this list.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that Jake likes. Jake likes a swell.
The big swell, and it's
Is that why you would like when we were younger? You would like listen to like Celine Dion and like
not really
those kind of like pop artists who also had like big swelling, like.
Well, it might have been because of the song itself, but it wasn't necessarily because of the artist. Because the artist,
wherever you are.
You're doing the Titanic theme.
Yeah,
really?
I know. But that's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of like when I think of like, I don't know, like that style of music. There's a lot of swelling to that stuff.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah. But it just plays into my kind of persona a little bit regarding how things build and swell and whatnot. So,
Jake, I also want to give you credit because this is one of like when you were talking about how this song fits into the game and how it like plays into the scene.
Mm-hmm.
That was the most like interpretive and like thoughtful that you've ever been in a scene. Because generally you don't like interpretive things. You like to like if you don't see it, it's on the page. Like I'm not gonna read into something. I'm gonna take what I'm given. And you're like, no, I think it means this. And it kind of represents this part. And I'm like, Jesus, Jake, you're fucking talking like I do. And I just want to applaud. And I have nothing to add because I think Jake just hit it on the head. Like, yeah.
So, but yeah, I have it touches a spot as far as the song itself is concerned. So,
yeah.
But piece. Yeah, it's a good one. Yes. So,
another one that's popular for covers on YouTube.
Yeah,
and Spotify. It's just loaded with fucking. You can't find the real song, but you can find covers easily.
Next song, Rich?
Yeah, we're wrapping up. We're coming into a fucking landing here, and my last selection for this episode, I wanted to go with a game that, to me, is the pinnacle of video game music. And I had mentioned the series earlier, but like it was absolutely going to get some representation in our episode. And honestly, I could do an entire episode and may someday do an entire episode based on the music of the Silent Hill franchise. And so for this episode, I decided to end on from Silent Hill 2, the Theme of Laura reprise version. This song to me is another like like I keep calling them storytelling songs.
Mm-hmm.
And this song is like as I was talking to Jake about before, so Jake, this is gonna sound really familiar to him, but this is like it's like, how do I want to put it? It's a reprise version, so it's an alternative version of a song earlier in the game, and it's the song that was used, the original version of it, the standard version is used as the theme of the game in general. Like when you boot the game, that's what plays. And variations of this song are repeated throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this version, like the original version, it's more rocking and there's drums and guitars and stuff like this. But the general theme of the game is actually really sad and somber, right. And it's like and to me this is the real version. Like the main character is kind of in denial about a lot of shit, about who he is and what he's done, and as the game goes on, he's forced to confront who he really is and the dark shit that he's responsible for and in denial about. And so this is almost like reflecting the reality of like, oh fuck, like the regular version is like what he tells himself, and this is the oh fuck. And so it's haunting and somber and just like the whole game. Like when like there's these like when story moments happen, it's like it's either terror or just like you're kind of bummed because like things feel hopeless and people are dealing with some shit. And so like, yeah, it just, it fits, again, it's one of those things that fits perfectly in the game. It's masterfully done. The whole soundtrack is. I need to call out Akira Yamaoka as like just a masterful not singer. He's a songwriter, but he's a composer. He said himself he's like a huge disciple of Trent Reznor. And while he does not sound like Trent Reznor and how he makes music, I think he takes a similar approach where it's like whatever sound and tool to get the job done. And he's super flexible in terms of how he does things, but it always feels distinctly like his. I mean, the soundtrack to Silent Hill games is all over the fucking map, but it always sounds one of a piece. And
one
also,
of a kind, you mean?
Yeah. It's like part of the art. Like you can hear every song in it, and it feels like it belongs to that, even if it sounds differently, or it's like a.
Sure.
I mean, there's obviously songs that sound similar. There's rock songs that sound similar. There's piano songs that sound similar, but they're not like doing the same thing. They're just pulling themes together, and.
Sure.
It's kind of like when you're trying to make something that sounds different but similar, so you're reusing elements or themes or. Just a couple notes to reference a previous song, like that sort of thing. Also, like Reznor, you'll be rocking out and having a good time, and then suddenly, piano time, motherfucker. Time to have feelings. That's another thing that I'm a sucker for, when somebody whips out the piano after hitting you in the face with some good rockin' tunes.
Sure.
Just to make like it's your sign for now. It's time to have emotions. And I'm like, yes, it works for me. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, I love this song. I love the entire soundtrack. I love every Silent Hill soundtrack that he has done.
Fair enough.
And I also own them all on vinyl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah, they're good shit. But
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I do like the kind of moving piano in it. I'm always a big fan of that sort of sound a little bit. It definitely. I'm a fan of any sort of piano music for start. Some more than others, but ultimately, if it's something that's playing piano, I'm like, oh, I'm tuning in. So I do kind of. I like the simplicity of the song. It sounds like there's only really 3 instruments that are going on at the same time. So at the most, granted, I didn't listen to it all the way through, but it was still it was a very simplistic song, kind of almost like The Other Promise in a sense that we just listened to, but this one I do like the emotion behind it, and I think those type of instruments that were used in this piece are a little bit more emphatic regarding emotion and things along those lines. And that's just my own opinion in that scenario. So, but yeah, Rich, I think it was good stuff.
Yeah, and it was good. I felt that had to be my last song just because I felt it was appropriate. And like I want to save my favorite artist for last, but also I felt like it's such a wild, different take from what your last track is, which fucking bring us to a close, Jake. Like, all right, everybody, fucking get ready. Like, just you might want to stand up.
Yeah, it's so the song is The Instinct from Killer Instinct Season 1.
Jesus Christ, Jake.
Right.
Oh my God, my heart is racing.
Yeah, this song it is like the entrance song of entrance songs to me. Okay, like if you were to put like how sometimes or when WWE does their their entrance and they're walking out to the ring. I mean, yeah, you almost have to you play this song first before the guy comes out.
Yeah,
And,
there's those guys who come out the moment the song starts, like Stone Cold
right.
did, because when the glass
Yeah.
broke. This
Yep.
is one of those songs that like it starts and the crowd goes, "Oh shit!" and they have to, and everyone's getting hyped and hyped and hyped, and then
Right.
45-ish seconds into it, when the theme starts, you're like, "Yeah!"
It was kind of like Undertaker with his bells.
Yeah, like, I think this song is kind of cool in that it's a remake of the original Killer Instinct theme song,
Mhm.
and I usually don't, like, I would usually be like, why don't you just go with the original?
Right.
However, I think this does a really cool job of kind of remaking and retelling the Killer Instinct theme and the way it builds.
Absolutely.
Because you know where it's going. You feel where it's fucking going from the start.
Yeah.
But it teases you for
it
45 fucking seconds. You're like, and you're ready to go from the start because the drums are like fucking hammers from the gods. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's an amazing theme. I mean, every time I listen to it, I end up turning like the volume to full blast.
Oh yeah, you got there's those you love those songs where like you're already listening to it loud, and then you're like,
right.
I gotta crank it.
Yeah, Frank, fuck yeah, and it's just like, and it kills all the way through too. It's not just for almost all 7 minutes of this song, and it is almost 7 minutes.
Yeah, it is not a short one, but I think it brings it.
It feels short though.
Yeah, and that's a sign of a good song. Like the only other song that comes close to that on our current playlist is Devil Trigger from Devil May Cry, and I get that same. And when I'm playing that, I get like that's the other song on this playlist I put together of our songs that I gotta crank it to, because I'm ready to fucking go. So
yeah, it was to me it's just the theme. I mean between the drums and then the way the guitar comes into play, and then it just like I like how like, and then it gets like 4 minutes in almost, and then it drives down, and you just kind of have a hum, kind of like the way it started out a little bit, and then it builds again. So,
top
but
tier,
yeah, it's
top tier.
Yeah, Rich almost blows his load over it. So
I mean, it's that kind of song that I'm into. I like it a lot. It's a hell of a song to wrap up on, and I think it's fucking beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
It's good as shit. I got nothing else to add. That's our not Final Fantasy. That's our fucking music episode, guys. I hope you dig it.
Yep. Yeah.
You got any last notes you want to drop?
No. The only thing I would say is that there might have been a couple of like honorable mentions and things along those lines. I can't think of any off the top of my head at the second, but
if people dig this, we'll absolutely do another one again someday.
Sure.
These are a lot of not a lot of episode. They're a lot of effort to put together, but
absolutely.
They're really fun, and like I would love to do another one where we go for a totally different vibe the whole episode. Sure. So we'll see how it goes, but
right.
Otherwise, I got nothing for you guys. I'm looking forward to talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 next time. Let me go ahead and just pick an ending point. Kingdom Hearts 3 FAQ, because you know what we never did? We never
picked an ending.
Up and picked an ending.
Nope, we didn't. And thankfully, this is going to be a little bit easier to split up than the last, than the Tactics was.
Oh yeah, because I mean it's a Kingdom Hearts game, so it's fucking
worlds.
Yeah.
So
let's go through. Olympus?
Okay.
There's let's do. I think you have to do Olympus and then return to Olympus, right?
Well, I I know you're right. I just don't remember when the return is.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Let's play through the opening, the Olympus, and the Twilight Town section. And when you leave Twilight Town, we'll stop there.
Sounds like a plan.
When you're done in Twilight. Okay, so that's for next episode.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it with you guys, and we're gonna have a fucking blast.
Yeah, it's gonna rock.
Take care, guys. Fucking rock out. Don't fuck off this episode. Rock on.
Rock on.
I'll go ahead and share a link to the Spotify playlist on our social media.
A bold one.
Yeah, why not? Fuck it. The X-Men theme isn't on there, the Clone Wars one, because that is not on Spotify. So.
Oh shit.
No, I know it's heartbreaking, but you
can
just
it
YouTube.
is.
Just YouTube that whole fucking soundtrack. It's great. So
the whole soundtrack, all of it, every bit of it, the whole fucking thing. Just YouTube it.
Yeah. Steal. Fuck the police.
Fuck the police.
I'm out, Jake. You take care.
Yep, you too.